I'm sure you have attended a lot of events in the past from other organizations. It's all academic bullshit, talking about things in general. This is not what we practice here at the Financial Policy Council. We bring people in the trenches, entrepreneurs with skin in the game, who share their experiences and their failings, their successes. This is an organization about entrepreneurs, about wealth creators, about deal makers. We're not academics. We reject academics, economists, theoreticians, all that bullshit you see in the press. This is hardcore business. We're here for two things: to empower people to be capitalists and to create real wealth. Not because we love wealth and we love money, but because money is about freedom. The more you acquire wealth, the freer you are. And the more dependent you are dependent on the whims of the government, any government, you're a slave. When you work for a corporation, you're a slave, in my opinion. Slavery today is when you work for a corporation. 200 years ago, it was the plantation. Today is working for corporations. Where you can't even post a comment on LinkedIn without your boss approving it. Boss, can I go and pee? No, you can't. You work for me. This is how we are today. This is facts. Is it politically correct or not? I don't care about political correctness. We're here to make a difference. We're here to become game changers. This is what the council was created. And this is what it's for. We've been in business for 12 years. We have 300,000 followers on social media. We publish and produce things nobody dares talking about. We're not afraid of the cancel culture. We are a raw capitalistic organization in the middle of liberal New York City. And we survived and we thrived for the last 12 years, and nobody's gonna stop us. If anything we say offends you, you shouldn't be here. Because everything I say is offensive, but gets to the point of the matter. This is what you're here for. Our legacy is to create millionaires and billionaires and free-spirited people with an opinion. This is the first time in the organization's history where we're bringing in, we will announce him soon, I mean, you saw his book, a New York billionaire entrepreneur who exactly feels like us. He accepted to come. He's exactly the role model type we want to follow. We want every one of you to be a billionaire. Every one of you to be a game changer. Everyone. This is how we can tell the government or anyone, we don't need you. And this is what they don't want. They want to keep you under their thumb. No privacy, don't dissent, put your mask, shut up, don't say a word. That's what they want. Well, we're doing exactly the opposite. And you do it by really writing, blogging, talking, expressing yourself. And bringing in experts in the fields that we focus on to talk about this, to open up your minds, to bring in new ideas. At the Financial Policy Council, we have 12 asset classes we focus on. Healthcare, oil and gas, Bitcoin, branding, real estate, you name it. We have experts in each asset class. Today is about AI and real estate. We will go about that. Other events were about Bitcoin. The last one was about Bitcoin, NFTs, decentralized finance. We want you to learn, to absorb this. You're not going to learn anything from the books. It's all bullshit. They have an agenda. All the paper, all the media. They have an agenda. They want you to be stupid, dumb, and believe their bullshit. This is the truth from people there. Maybe you don't, for the newcomers, maybe you don't realize the impact of this. This is extremely important. because nobody, with all due respect, is doing what we're doing. They don't have the expertise, they don't have the balls, they don't have the vision. Don't rock the boat. Be nice. Starting with the biggest ones, the Council on Formulations. I was part of the Council on Formulations, very elitist group. I resigned because of their stupidity. I said, I'm done with this. Anyway, so today we're going to talk, the symposium we're having today is all about how AI, artificial intelligence, is revolutionizing property management, investment strategies, market analysts, enabling smarter decisions. We will talk about the background of each of the panelists. Each one of them will talk for 2 minutes about that. You can ask them any questions you want. There's no dumb question. As long as it's a question, not a comment. It's a question. You're here to learn as much as you can. If after this event you don't get out of the room saying, wow, this is really impressive, we would have failed in transmitting the message. You've got to be very hard on. Ask them tough questions, grill them. They can take it. I believe they can. I start with Pietro Savvides. Pietro, 2 minutes, please, of your background, why you're here, and then we'll move on to the rest. Thank you, Pietro.
Hi, guys. Thank you for coming. It's a great pleasure. And there's a lot of people here that have traveled, taken planes. And we have one from Singapore, all the way from Texas, like Maryland, Ontario, Canada. Thank you. And we appreciate your support. So in a nutshell, oh, by the way, there's books outside. If anybody didn't take one yet, they're free and you can get them signed by John when he comes personally. You can, if there's any left, you might be able to take an extra one for a friend that you know that would need it. It's a great book. I read it myself and it's awesome. So in a nutshell, I'm not going to bore you about my history, but I started my education in electronics. It was a decision that was pushed on me by a guidance counselor. So my destiny was chosen by this person. After two weeks before I graduated electro technologies, I found out, nobody told me, I found out that the salary was $30,000 at the time. And it didn't jive with me because my brother was flipping burgers at $1,000 a week. And it just didn't make sense. So I started my career in construction. As I built my company, a construction company, as a general contractor, I slowly transitioned into real estate. As I went from small houses, I started to escalate into duplexes, and I started to get into the multi-unit business. I learned and I met high net worth individuals, and I leveraged their currency so that I can escalate my success. And eventually, once the dust settled, I realized that I had so much real estate that eventually I gained my freedom. And beyond that, I started leveraging my real estate, investing in different asset classes and industries, and that's how I transitioned. So today, everything I do it for fun.
Thank you, Pietro. Joe?
Hey everyone, Joe Irizarry. Thank you for being here. I'm an executive consultant. I work with CIOs, CTOs who are making strategic technology investments in their companies. These are typically 8-figure investments for Fortune 500 companies like Microsoft, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, General Motors, American Express, and naturally, what is technology investments today? It's now turning into AI investments. So I'm excited for this panel to be able to share that perspective with you. My background is in software engineering. At one time, I was the monkey banging on the keyboard in the closet, okay? The stereotypical nerd. I still am the nerd, I'm just not in the closet anymore, we'll put it that way. And that didn't, no, that's not what I meant, the closet. And as far as how does it apply to real estate, right? Well, for the last 5 years, we've been doing basically what the beginning of Pietro's journey was, right? My wife and I, we do single family investments, and now we're transitioning with high net worth individuals as partners into bigger and better deals. So excited to bridge those gaps and bring them together for all of you.
Thank you, Joe.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming, for supporting us and taking the time. And I assure you it's going to be worth it. My name is Karina Benzineb. I'm the CEO, the founder of the Benz Real Estate Investment Group, as fancy as it sounds, but the journey was very long. I came to the state 22 years ago to live the American dream. So I wanted to become a pharmacist. I studied chemistry, I worked in a pharmacy, and shortly enough, that was not my calling. Fast forward, I worked as an executive for sale for a big company, and there where my business acumen started, and learned everything about how to build a business, how to sustain a business. And while I was doing this, I was buying a house, and the professional that I hired, they gave me a poor choice. So I said, if they are giving me poor choice and I am very challenged with time, I can't do this for all my colleagues. So I'm gonna go to the real estate and I'm gonna change this profession, and I'm going to execute and help everyone who doesn't have time to buy their homes so they can focus on their work. So I partner with Savvides, it's one of the biggest brokerage. And I started my journey as a broker, doing selling and buying and helping a client really executing their vision in real estate. And the more I was interacting with my client and building relationship with them, I noticed that the investment was not there. They can buy the house, but they don't want to invest. They had that fear of investment. And that's where my calling started. Started building relationship with them, helping them, putting a roadmap in their investment and walking them through how to buy properties and how to build their portfolio brick by brick. And I'm very proud that I had so many partners, so many investors who never thought they can become investors. They thought they can be a house owners, and the journey stopped over there. So coming here to live the American dream, I'm very proud to say that I helped people to live their American dream by giving them a financial freedom. And I'm here. This is no Google. So to give value and to answer all your questions. Thank you.
Karina. Paul?
Good evening and welcome, everyone. My name is Paul Mourino, native to New York, a 10-year hospitality expert here in the city for Marriott, Hard Rock, and now Hyatt. Pietro, like yourself, I started out working hard, interning at a bank, a couple financial institutions, but then realizing you make more money sometimes with hard labor and the sweat of your brow. So for about 10 years, I did that going west, like the old adage is in America. Go west, young man, for riches, fame, and fortune. Well, I did that, and I got to about Texas, and then I ran out of fortune. So I returned to Manhattan, where my family is, and I started a career in hospitality about 13, 14 years ago, and helped to open some of Marriott's brand new properties here in the city. And over that period of time, I've seen how the Internet of Things, technology, labor costs, everything has fundamentally changed the way hospitality and real estate is managed in the city. So I'm happy to share some of the wisdom and insight with you this evening and my fellow panelists.
Thank you, Paul. Great. All right, let me start with Pietro and then move forward. Now, the question I'm going to ask Pietro, any one of you can answer it too, but be brief, please, because this is specifically addressed to Pietro and vice versa. We want to make sure that we're done with this at 7:45. So let's stick to the discipline, because we're waiting for our special guest to show up at 7:45. We're going to address with him, exchange some questions too until 8:30. Then 8:30, he's going to do the book signing until 9. So you're going to have plenty of time to network with him too, get the signature of his book, and move forward. Okay? Pietro, as a seasoned real estate investor, how can the advancements in AI create lucrative avenue for you to fund and leverage talent, ultimately maximizing your returns?
Thank you. So as you all know, I'm in real estate, and AI is definitely making a movement. It's actually a revolution, and I see it for myself. I'm not an expert in AI, but what I can see as an investor, the opportunity is here. So if I can say something for tonight, if anybody here has heard about it but has not tapped into ChatGPT or anything like that, I think it's an opportunity for you guys to create this awareness where AI is coming. And from what I see as an investor, it's gonna change the industry, the real estate industry. Either it's gonna be in the real estate, it could be also in construction. It's gonna change the way we do business. It's gonna reduce the employees that we have. And I see it as an investor. I've been traveling the world, all the way to Singapore. I've been pitched and I've been told how the funds and the capital ventures are investing in this technology and how it's working. And this is something that is gonna come like a storm if we're not prepared. And if I can say something to you guys right now is start focusing on it, because these opportunities, they don't come every year, they come every decade. And it's around the corner and it's around the door.
Anyone want to add something here? You don't have to. If you do, go ahead,
I'm
Karina.
just going to add something. I absolutely share the same belief as Pietro, and also a lot of us, we all see now AI technology. It's not about dissing one approach and embracing AI. It's blending the tradition, how we're doing business, and start adapting to the new approaches using technology, because it's doing the 80-20 rules for us. So absolutely, we have to be on board and embrace it.
Thank you, Karina. Having said that, Karina, what do you think are the main challenges investors and partners are facing this year in 24 market? And how are you ensuring we stay updated to navigate these challenges forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I see it in my business. I do investment, I partner with my partners, and the biggest challenge for us is the pricing. There is high prices in real estate, nothing is appraising, and the bank are not giving the money based on a market value, what is preached to the investors. So you have to come up with the rest. It's a high interest that's going on. So it's very difficult for people to get their return and get the cash flow that they're looking for. Competition, especially in South Florida. Everyone wants to be in South Florida. That's where I'm located. So you don't have a time to think when we have opportunity. You only have a time to act. So that give the partners that an ease to really get a confident decision. So, and also we have a lot of changes in the regulatory all the time in South Florida. The rules keep changing, and I keep saying to people, you have to be now going to part two, how we're navigating those hurdles. Yeah. We have to stay up to date using AI technology. I encourage all investors, there is no passive investment. You have to be involved in what you're investing in, whether you hire people to go to those community meetings and report to you what's going on to that community and get to know them, or you're the one who is doing that. Using AI, now the data is so powerful. So how you're going to verify the data is by going to this meeting so you can match what you read based on what you hear. So that's important. And also diversification. Nowadays, it's very challenging to invest in one arena. So maybe with the AI insight, it gives you so many market trend, what is the upcoming neighborhood, with the research and network with professionals, then you know what to do in investment.
Thank you, Karina. I move to Paul. Paul, you're a specialist in the hospitality industry. You've been doing it for 20 years. I don't understand why New York City is continuing to build new hotel properties, given the current market conditions. I mean, it's unbelievable. What's your case for the hospitality industry in New York City and beyond?
I agree with you. I had that skepticism 10 years ago, but we seem to keep building and they will come. So in the last 4 years, there are 4 criteria that are critical.
So what's the vacancy rate, for example, right now in New York hospitality industry?
It's high. We're at my property now 80% on average, 70 to 80%.
So even if we keep building, they're going to keep coming?
Yes, but building what and building how, and that's where AI comes into play.
Okay, go ahead.
So AI is changing both the guest experience, the hotel operator experience, and then the whole dynamic of how the architecture of a new property is built. So you have on the guest experience side, the guest is already very well aware of what's out there in the market, and they want the best always. And they can see the property they're about to visit before they visit through AI, through virtual reality, etc. On the owner's side, the owner already knows their guests if they're competitive in the market. They have data collecting tools. They have AI brand awareness programs where they're constantly keeping track of how much market share they're protecting. Within the hotel itself, operation-wise, AI puts a major pressure on the operators to have a lot more skill. Maybe they're not going to make a lot of pay, but the demand is very high for the front desk agent to be the concierge, to be the programmer, the player, and the person that can interpolate for them, the guest, what they're going to do during their stay. Secondarily, also back of house experiences. The hotel industry has a lot of legacy contracts with outdated, ancient software platforms that look literally like DOS and operate like that. That's DOS, operating systems. Those things could be updated. They could be integrated. They could be integrated across departments. And that would be a great labor savings for the operator and for the owner long term. In the commercial space, you have some software applications like WinTeam that already accomplish this, where it's like a one-stop shop to manage your HR issues, your scheduling issues, almost everything, and your compliance. In the hotel world, we haven't gotten there yet for a number of reasons.
Very insightful, very insightful. Thank you, Paul. Joe, I mean, let's not kill each other. Artificial intelligence, AI, has been in there since the 1950s. What makes it so special today? It's all this buzz right now. It's like we discovered, something. It's been forever, technology and AI for the last 70 years. What makes it different today?
That is the question, right?
That's exactly the question, Joe.
Why? Why? Well, so there's 2 ways to look at this. First, let's say when we say it's been around since 1950s, ChatGPT just came out a few years ago. What do you mean it's been around, right? Well, AI is really good at solving what I like to call fuzzy problems. So if I've got a process, if I've got a bank account, and I say 1 + 1 is 2, I'm going to approve your transaction as long as your balance doesn't go below 0. That's traditional software, traditional technology. But then I want to say, I'm not going to prove it if it's fraudulent. Well, there's a million variables that go into whether it's fraudulent. Are you away from home? Do you typically buy from this location? Blah, 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 blah. That's a fuzzy problem that there is no perfect answer, and it's really hard to build a process for that. So we've been using AI, machine learning, in fraud detection, in image recognition. When you go to Facebook and it says, oh, your friend is in this picture, you want me to tag him for you? The whole algorithm for the feed is actually AI. It's all been around. It just wasn't talked about. They talked about features, not technology. This is one of the few times where we're sitting down and consumers are actually asking not just for a solution, they're asking for an AI solution. They're talking about technology. Why is that? The reason is because it bridges the gap. I no longer have to understand my computer. Now my computer understands me. I can talk to it in the same way that I can talk to a human. And it can do things without someone having to sit down and program it. It can just do things. So all of these fuzzy problems, like let's say I'm going to buy a property and 200 units, and I want to look at every single lease to make sure there's not that grandchild lease, 99-year lease for $27 a month, right? Buried somewhere in the paperwork. Right now, someone has to go and look at all those documents. Well, AI can do that now, right? It can solve all these fuzzy problems. So the difference is that we've made a huge leap in technology, in solving these fuzzy problems. And so now all of the enterprises are saying, how can I not just apply this technology to my existing processes, but how can I completely change the way in which I'm doing business? Because now certain job descriptions are no longer relevant. AI can do it. That doesn't mean people aren't relevant. Let's not forget, the tractor, power tools, they've all made it so I need less humans to do work. But humans are still here. They're still very relevant. The difference is this is technology affects the knowledge workers. This is the first time it's affecting the knowledge workers. So that is what's different, Ziad.
Thank you, Joe. Very insightful. Back to Pietro. Pietro, given your vast experience in real estate and construction, would you bet on AI innovations in these sectors? And what specific advancements do you believe have the potential to revolutionize the industry?
Thank you. So when I started my career, I'll tell you a little story. I started my career, and as I went about my day-to-day, I wasn't so concerned about the money. I was more concerned about if I was capable of accomplishing what I had to do in life and in my career. I had something to prove to myself, not to others, that I can do it. And eventually, as I got older, there was a shift. It started to change. And I started to realize, well, wait a minute, there's enough, and I transitioned into real estate and I did the same. And then it came to a point where I said, now show me the money. I want to make the money. And it's a little bit like that. I'll give you another example. The F1, okay, the Grand Prix. Mercedes, Ferrari were always the top leaders in the races. And then Red Bull came in the picture. And how could Red Bull win championships? It's because the government changed, or their government changed the rules, and they changed how they had to perform. And Red Bull, it's like the door just opened, and they were able to position themselves. And it's a little bit like this. So AI, yeah, it was there since 1950s or 60s. But now what's happening is there's so much focus in it, there's going to be a lot of regulations. But if you're not aware, if you don't understand it, if you're not educating yourself in AI to position yourself, so when you do see that light and you say, shit, this is my opportunity, you step in and you can profit from it. That's the best I can say about the AI and how your opportunity can show up and appear. But it's revolutionary because just the other day I met up with this company in Seattle that is building buildings. They're not modular. So they build these structures out of steel, and they've created a concept. It's an architect. I'm not going to mention the names, but if you guys want to know, you can talk to me later. So they created these panels where they build these walls, where they implement all the plumbing, the electrical, everything, the mechanical, the sprinkler, the insulation, the fireproofing, everything is done on a single panel. It costs them $300 per panel in a factory. And what they do is they transport those panels, they get the structure done. Of course, they use cement below ground. And it takes them half the time to put these structures together. And then I ask him, I say, well, where does AI come in play? So this is sustainability and efficiencies, right? This comes in play when they prepare these panels. But where does AI come in? They have all the components ready, and they have a device that is the size of my hand that connects everything in this building, and they can manage it from any country they want with Wi-Fi signal, where if the toilet runs, these are for apartment buildings, if the toilet runs and it's leaking, they can detect that it's not normal use. So the AI is going to alert, and what it's going to do, it's going to shut the main valve in that apartment just to prevent that. It's going to also look at the electricity, the ACs, everything that involves that property is going to be controlled with AI. And it's coming, man.
Thank you so
Can
much.
I add something to that too as well?
You want to add something? Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say, I mean, another very practical example is all the 3D printing. I'm sure by now everyone's heard of it in some form or fashion, right? Well, 3D printing homes is basically pouring concrete, playing layers, right? So the walls, the exterior and the interior walls are done by a robot, right? I mean, they still need to run plumbing and electric, but over time, more and more of that's going to be automated. Take space, right? What they can do now is ship raw materials for 3D printing different types of hammers and tools and all that kind of stuff, ship up the raw materials, and they have 3D printers in space. And if they say, I need a new tool, they don't have to manufacture the tool and then ship it up there. They just ship the designs digitally, and they 3D print a new tool. It's going to completely change the way that we're doing things.
Thank you, Joe. I move next to Karina. Karina, you've been in Florida for some time. There's a lot of tax haven limitations in Florida, obviously. Now, why do wealthy individuals continue to invest in real estate, and how are they leveraging AI, to reinforce their decisions?
That's a very good question. Actually, Florida, as all you know, it's a tax haven. We don't pay state taxes, we don't pay mansion taxes, inheritance taxes. So that gives people the saving that they can use that money to invest in something else. But the more I see it in Florida, South Florida is becoming the booming place to meet all the entrepreneurs, all the tech people are moving down there. So if you want to really meet like-minded people, it's the place to be. If you want to conduct business and partner with others, it's the place to be. And number 3 is a lot of people, they want to build wealth, but they want to live healthy too and have a great lifestyle. And Florida gives you that lifestyle. We have the weather, we have a great communities, the beach. So people not only are building wealth because we have great opportunities in real estate and meeting the right people, but they're also enjoying that life.
Okay, so how are they leveraging AI or data?
And AI comes to the picture, as Joe said. AI not only it's a tool for crunching the numbers, but it's a tool to give people the means to understand the real estate market. It gives you so many data instead of you going there and traveling and doing it the traditional way and seeing the neighborhood. Now you have the data. It's gonna give you the upcoming neighborhood. So you can invest and then you can live in that city, but you will make a very confident decision using the data of AI. There is so many logistics, there is so many softwares that gives you that leverage without even you flying to that city and make the research. The research is there, is the AI, absolutely.
Thank you, Karina. Paul, how will AI affect the hotel experience in New York City in 2024 and beyond? If you could be a bit more specific than generalities.
The guests will go into the property with very high expectations about what they're going to receive and how they're going to receive it. So from their tastes, from everything that they've announced on the internet prior to coming to your property, the operator will know. Coming to the property, your guest check-in experience, your key card, the security system and the camera system is all linked in by Internet of Things and AI affiliated software that tracks the keys and the guests as they're going on their property. So there's also a defense question here for the guest stay. We have to protect our guests from malicious AI. So in order to take full advantage of AI, you have to also be aware of its dangers.
Very true.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one last question to Joe, then I'm going to leave it to the audience. I don't want to monopolize everything here. Joe, so what should we be looking out for? I mean, how should we prepare with this AI revolution coming up? What does the future look like? And I would like each one of you to answer this question briefly, but starting with you, Joe.
Sure. So what do we look out for? Well, entrepreneurs and investors. I'm going to assume that majority of us in this room either fit that category or have those spirits in us, right? Like that's the direction we're headed. So what to look out for, we're in what I would call a bubble, okay? AI bubble in the same way that there was a .com bubble. Yeah. How many new little ABC.ai, XYZ.ai websites, how many new tools do you see popping up, right? They're gonna go up and they're gonna go down just as quickly. Money made quick is gonna be money lost quick. And that's what I would look out for if I was investing. If you see a company that is just AI-based, you need to know that they're deep. You need to know that they're not just taking ChatGPT and putting another box on a different website and they're just a middleman. They need to be going deep with it. Similarly, a company that you're investing in, they need to be looking at AI and asking themselves, how are they going to strategically change the way that they're doing business, revolutionize the way that they're doing business? And if they don't have a good answer for it, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure that they're a great investment. And if you're the entrepreneur, if it's your business, then you're the person I was just talking about. If you don't have a strategy for it, then you are behind and you're going to continue to fall farther behind. Because what does the future look like? Well, the future looks like us doing higher level things. The future look in construction, let's just say, right? Robots right now, they're fun, they're gimmicky. You see tons of videos on, whatever, YouTube, X, whatever platform you use. You're seeing these videos of these robots jumping around and walking dogs and all these fun, and it's cute, right? It's cute. But why aren't they on the manufacturing floors? Why was it that when Elon tried to build the Tesla factory 100% automated, he couldn't do it? Well, quite frankly, the technology wasn't there. But now it's here. Of course, it's going to specialize and it's going to continue to get better. I'm not saying that things have stopped, but I'm saying because of that leap that I was talking about earlier, those things are now more in reach. If anyone has seen the most recent demos by OpenAI of the ChatGPT 4.0, where they're sitting there having a conversation, it's got a camera looking at the room, hey, what's this? Hey, what's that? Oh, there's a nice smile on your face, what's going on? So on and so forth, right? That's giving this computer understanding of our world. And a robot first needs to understand our world. Once it can understand it, it's easy to interact with it.
I'd like to add something here. I appreciate your thinking and then leave it to the panelists. I'm talking from an investing experience. I've been an investor for a few decades. And I see a trend every time. There's real estate, there's .com, there's AI, there's this, there's that. Especially right now in AI. 90+% of the people, they don't know how AI works. They're using this as a buzzword to shove it down your throat, AI, sexy, hot, etc. You're going to turn this thing. They have no clue what they're talking about. Because if I ask them a few questions further than that, they stop. They start bullshitting. So at the end of the day, if you're an investor or investing in some of these plays, the first thing you should look at, and this is really from experience, is track record. Did you ever invest in AI? No, it's my seed round and I'm doing it the first time. That's it, bye-bye. Track record, skin in the game, and execution. That's all what counts. Not just AI, any industry. They will use all these buzzwords to lure you in, sometimes with a few $100,000, sometimes with a few $1 million, and you're screwed. So number one, really, you have to deal with operators who have been dealing in that space, who really know that space. Not academics, professors who wrote a paper at MIT. Is going to impress you. I'm from MIT, I wrote a paper on AI. This doesn't make you a maven. This doesn't make you shit, doesn't mean nothing, number one. What's your operating track record? How much skin in the game are you putting in this great venture? You're going to make zillions. Most of them are putting nothing because they have nothing, and they have nothing because they don't have a track record. Look, when people tell you have a track record, but they don't have any money, any skin in the game, they're only using sweat equity, this is bullshit. Because how do you make money? You either inherit the money or you make the money. If you didn't inherit the money from your family, you must have made the money, have a track record. If you don't have any money, meaning you don't have a track record, no matter what the industry. So this is how you catch them. That's all it takes. You don't have to be a genius. Operators with a track record, with skin in the game, and with the capability of executing. Because all these plans that you see, they tell you the what, the why, the when, the where. Oh, I'm going to capture 1% of the market. It's $1 trillion market. Small bullshit. At the end of the day, there's one question that they need to address, and 99% of the entrepreneurs cannot address. How are you going to execute? Business is war. You're going to war. Just explain to me, how are you going to execute? None of them cannot tell you, cannot articulate how. Oh, we'll do some ads, oh, we'll do this. Bullshit. Meaning they're not operators, they don't have a track record, they never executed, and on top of it, they don't have skin in the game. So whether AI or no AI, I mean, AI definitely is a buzzword. I never look at the industry. You can have an A team and a B product, or an A product and a B team. If you have an A team and a B product, you will always succeed, because if things go wrong, the team will turn it around. If you have an A product and a B team, if things don't work, whether with the best AI technology, you're screwed, you're stuck, because it's not the right team. So really focus on the people, the promoters, and see what they have and what they bring to the table, than just be enamored with the technology. AI, my God, it's so genius, you're a genius. Because you wrote a white paper on AI at Stanford or MIT. Most of them don't have any experience in AI. They have no idea. Unless they work from they come from the intelligence community or something like that, where they've been digging deep into that, or the government or some institute like that, they know shit. They know nothing. So don't be dazzled with all this bullshit out there. Pietro, or whoever, Pietro.
No, I agree with what Ziad said. And me as an investor also, I bet on talent. I bet on talent because, they're the expert in the industry. But at the same time, they have to have a good product. If I don't like the product, because I've done my research and try to get an understanding of what I'm investing in, it has to make sense, right? But money can only bring you to a certain point. If this team is not an A team and is a B team and can't take it or raise money, because at what point do you stop investing, right? Yeah. So you have to analyze these things. So there's a bit of education to be done. And also an understanding on what you're investing in. As much as Ziad said, it doesn't care about the industry. Well, you want to understand the industry you're investing in no matter what, or else how can you invest in it, right, at the same time?
Thank you. Karina.
I absolutely agree with Pietro, and I agree with you, Ziad. It all comes to an execution. If you have all this data and you don't know what to do with it, there is no point. So AI is just here to really lead the way, give you an overview of what's happening. But with your track record, you have to verify what you are having in your hand, because that is crucial. It's not what you read, it's always factual. You have to be in the field, or you have to partner with people who that's what they do, whatever the industry is.
Thank you, Karina. Paul, last but not least.
Oh, thank you. Thank you kindly. There's a great potential coming in New York City, for better and for worse. For better, there's a lot of properties that are going to be flipped and built into something new. So the question of AI, technology, and our labor force will be, are we prepared for it? And what are we going to build with these new properties that are potential there right now in Manhattan? So in my perspective, from the hospitality world, we have now record demand for occupancy and activity here in the city. So the question is, as an owner, what kind of brands are attractive to these people that are coming? I think we're at potentially 70 million visitors for 2024. Wow. That's a little bit more than 2019. So that's wonderful. So how are we going to house them? What brand do we want to entertain them with? Now, there are other factors in the market, like cost of labor, cost of food, cost of power, all those things that are going to not make it so advantageous. But the use of technology, leveraging AI, leveraging skilled labor, and the Internet of Things will help make it very profitable.
So I'll leave it up to the audience to ask the panelists any questions you want before the coming of our guest speaker, who's coming here at 7:45 sharp. Now it's 7:30. Go ahead, guys, whoever you want.
Usually when you have a technology like this, eventually the industry starts to consolidate. and you end up with a lot of big players. Who are those big players going to be? I mean, we know about NVIDIA, we know Microsoft, we know Google. Who do we not know about that we can invest in that's going to be a major player in AI? So.
You're asking me for a crystal ball, and I'm sorry, but I don't have one. Yeah.
We don't give investment advice. That's what you gotta say.
Yes, that's what I say.
Yeah,
None of this is
inside.
investment advice, full disclosure, right? Look, I mean, the reality is we know that there are some big tech players out there, and they're not going to miss this opportunity. So when you look at, you have to look at it in two fashions. There's the commodity business of technology, right? And I'm bucketing AI into that. And then there's the specialized verticals, right? So if you're looking at the commodity business, you're going to want to go with one of the big ones. That's just pretty much a given. Now, yes, it could be upset. I'm not saying it can't, but those are pretty safe bets in terms of seeing where the future goes. At least watch them. But in verticals, you just need to do your due diligence like any other company. What I said earlier about knowing that they have a deep strategy and it's not just service level, how you do that? Well, I mean, you have to do your due diligence. But I would definitely look at somebody who's going deep and not just going for marketing. The final thing I'll say is it's not just, and this is for personal, your company, your learnings, right? Because not everybody's going to be a techie in here. We're talking a lot about AI. It's not about you becoming an expert. It's about you knowing where things are going and slowly positioning yourself in that area so that when things land, you're better suited, right? If you know it's going that way, then start moving that direction. You don't have to know exact GPS coordinates to know where California is. If you know the parties in California, make your way over there, and then it's a small change to go to North Cal or South Cal, right?
Very simple. So thank you, Joe.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, of course.
So what I said before, I want just to answer your question. You don't have to necessarily invest in one company. There's so many capital venture funds out there that invest in pools of these AI companies where you can leverage your bet, right? So instead of betting on one and losing it all, you can kind of, wait. I'm not saying they're all winners, of course. That's where you have to do your homework and understand what you're investing in.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you, Pietro. Who else?
How prevalent is it that the average user could be led astray by malware in the AI? How confident can we be in the results that we're seeing from the AI generators? I hear a lot about different types of hackers, all different sorts of stuff that could happen. But how does the average person know what to look for?
That's actually a common question for all of us who are not in technology. Besides Joe, who can confirm it, I think we're all still learning about the technology. But my advice is you take whatever the information is given to you by AI and you must verify it. That's something we don't know where the source of information is coming from when it comes to a certain website of AI.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Karina, but then does that not defeat the purpose of doing the AI exercise in the first place? If I have to verify everything, then I might as well just do it myself.
At the end of the day, you must verify. The last word is yours.
Let me answer this. If you want extraordinary returns, you're going to work your ass off. You cannot rely or trust anyone because they all have an agenda. What is your agenda?
Actually, can I interject for a minute? Actually, AI gives you references that you can actually cross.
Okay, so it's helpful. So it's not like you're starting from scratch. Okay, but you have to do it yourself. Do the research, check the references, check the people, do that. It's, nobody's going to do it for you, honestly. And it's not just AI, in any investment. Nobody's going to do it for you. The more you work, the more you become, the luckier you get because you have done your work, you know what's happening. So, and how does there's no average investor, average thing, average person. And don't consider yourself average. And don't say average because by doing that, you're belittling yourself. Oh, I don't know about that. No, don't ever say you're average. So do your homework, and you can get. There's so much information out there, Susan. There's so much information. That how do you gather and compile this information and talk to the right people? And nobody's going to tell you that. And even if they know that it may not be the right answer, because what fits them may not fit you.
Yeah, I mean, there's no silver bullet, but at the end of the day, it's no different than Google. Google's going to give you whatever it thinks the best results are, but it's still your job. What it does, right? These generative AI things, they kind of have two ways. One is take a small amount of information and blow it up. Write me a blog post about X.
Yeah.
The other side of it is take a whole bunch of information and condense it. But at the end of the day, it's a tool, and it's no different than if I had an executive assistant that I said, go compile a list of X, Y, and Z. Unless I've built trust with that person, I'm going to verify what they give me, right? So it's a tool to accelerate. It's not something that's fire and forget. Did you want to say something?
Yeah.
I agree.
You have to trust but verify and test rigorously. So in my role, mostly it's security and fraud defense. So all the time we have people, oh, I say that your property, and we lost the family jewels and da-da-da. Oh, okay, so you go through the process. All right, you follow up, ask questions. You ask more questions. In this case, I see the repeat. It's the same refrain. It's a fake account, or you can't reach them. You can't verify. You can't establish truth. So a couple rules of thumb: if it smells too good to be true, it's probably not.
Yeah.
So do the hard work, and you'll know the difference.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paul.
And
Anybody else?
also, I just want to add something. Back in the days, we used to do the 100% homework, and now we're buying time with AI. So it's giving you the direction, giving you the 80%. You just have to do the 20%. That's the
But
magic
you have
of
to do
it.
something.
You have to do something. That was always my point.
If it was
Yeah.
easy, everyone would do
And
it.
also, there's a lot of countries that are starting to implement some rules for AI. A lot of countries. U.S. did something, but Japan, China, Brazil. There's a lot of countries that are starting, UK, and they're starting to see the danger in AI. And I don't think they're going to get everything. Like I said, guys, now it's the wild, wild west. Eventually, it's going to get regulated, but that's going to take time. There is definitely opportunity. Keep your ears and eyes open and show me the money.
Show me the money.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Hi, Steve. What's the likelihood or chance of that AI software program can be hacked? And are there any protocols or processes in place to either detect that or prevent it from being hacked, give false information on purpose to people who are...
Yeah, look, let me give you I know a lot about hacking and all that shit. Look, anything can be hacked. Anything can be hacked. Even the most sensitive information of the Department of Defense. There is guys, black hat and white hack. I mean, they compete against each other. I was hacked by somebody. I got a white hat to come and hack the other guy who hacked me, and he got all the information from him that he stole from me. So there's, it's all over the place. It's prevailing everywhere. Nobody is too smart to outsmart everybody. Nobody. There's no monopoly on brain power or on hacking, in my personal experience.
Yeah, I'll just say, short answer is yes. You definitely can hack it. There's all kinds of interesting stuff about it. But remember those enterprises I was telling you about? They're very cautious, right? And cybersecurity in general is a very lucrative and attention-grabbing field. You've heard about Equifax and all the other hacks, right? Well, there's a whole new category of hacks in terms of AI, and it's going to get dealt with the same way everything else is going to get dealt with. But look, I mean, the way I look at the world is that, in general, good overcomes evil. Whether that's hacking, whether that's AI, Terminator style, whatever it is, I generally see that good is going to overcome evil.
I really hope so, but at the rate we're going today, it's not. Good is not overcoming evil. Evil is all over the place. Under this rule, this administration, yes, it's political, yes. It's obvious with all what's happening today. But in general, I totally agree with you, Joe. Good has always overcome evil. Not recently. I'm shocked what's happening. I'm sure you guys are shocked as well. So look, don't take anything for granted. Don't take anything for granted. There's a counterweight and a counterbalance to every action. So.
Well, but you're going exactly the direction that I was headed in, that at the end of the day, it's us, the investors, the entrepreneurs. We need to be the good, and we need to get the money while we're doing it, right? I mean, there's no reason not to.
Yes, sir.
This is again for Joe. So I know you mentioned AI being good at these sort of fuzzy vertical problems that it solves, right? Do you think we're going to get to a point, at least that we took from GPT-2 to 4 right now, where you've seen it solve the simple lines to now tell you basically what's going on in a room? If you take another similar leap, do you think we'll get to an AGI, generally smart system, and maybe a step ahead, something that's smarter than the people that created it? Is that in the realm of possibility in the next 3-4 years?
Yeah.
Look, I'm not a data scientist, right? There's people way smarter than me building this technology. So I'm not going to be Elon and predict that it's going to be 2 years and it winds up being 10. I'm not going to put my name on that. Kind of a dig at Elon, but I like the guy. The reality is, I look longer term than that, right? Is it going to happen? Yes. So that's what I'm planning on. That's why I say knowing where things are going, right, and positioning yourself along that path of progress, that I think is what matters. Timing-wise, you have to be. I think there's more to that question in terms of timing and how you run a business, right? But in terms of is it going to happen? Of course.
Okay. Give me the tough questions, real tough questions. Enough being nice and politically correct and all that shit. Go ahead, David.
Yeah. I'm David, but a lot of AI is collaborating immense amounts of data, but because of that, you have biases in the problem-solving mechanics of that. Especially when comparing new markets to analyze that data, that may lead to some inconsistency. So have you encountered that? A lot of AI is in the Western world. There are breakthrough markets all over the world. And have you seen that the data that was used with the AI to train the AI model here has not been consistent overseas? What were your experiences on?
So there absolutely are biases, right? So I guess to bring the rest of the room into this conversation, because it's a very technical, detailed question. Basically, right, you train an AI on a set of data, and that's what it knows. And just like a human, if I don't know anything about the culture of China, and I go to China, I'm going to make a bunch of taboos, right, unintentionally. And that's basically what he's asking. Is the AI going to do that? And the short answer is, of course it's going to do that, right? Of course it's going to do that. It all depends on what it's trained on. And the big thing that I think is happening now is leveraging what the AI can do, not the data that's built into it, and instead leveraging that company's proprietary data, okay? Because a lot of these companies have proprietary processes and ways they go about it. Why is it that auditing a publicly traded company is done by one of 4? KPMG, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, or Deloitte, right? That's it. Or sorry, PwC is the 4th one I missed. It's done by 4. Why? Because of their reputation, their private data, the way they do things. So when they run it, when they use AI, they're doing it their way. They're just leveraging it as a tool.
This is a question along the lines of what he just said. There was a model of crime, an AI model that was presented at an AI conference, and they were accusing this of being racist because the way the neighborhoods were laid out and the information included, it was indeed racist because race was being used as a factor. Well, now we see things that are a lot more subtle, and this is probably, I have the impression that, Karina, you've actually used these models extensively. Are you seeing data in those models that you think is not good data? It's like, okay, that's from this source and they're full of crap, so I'm going to ignore these results that are being incorporated. I mean, the more subtle things that can be that can cause AI to be biased.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm going to go back to the principle. It's going to give you data, especially now AI, predict what type of neighborhood you should invest in, what type of neighborhood you should be away from. Some people, they may think that's a racism thing based on whatever it's giving them as information. At the end of the day, you have to have the track record to really verify those data, 100%, and not take. Datas are here for us to really work with them, not to just take them.
Okay. Have you ever looked at an AI model and said, and just kind of smiled?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But again, because I'm always in the field, I'm always exercising and being in real estate. So I always verify. And if I don't know, I just reach out to the professional who knows, but I will not take that data as the first hand and make a decision out of it. For now. Yeah.
Yeah, confirmation bias is a thing. So how brutally honest can you be about your own opinions and your assumptions, right?
Me, absolutely.
Well, all of us in general. So in order to protect yourself against some of these things, you have to be really rigorous about how you form your opinions and perhaps have a taste of what the truth is. It's not an opinion. There's a lot out there in the popular culture about, oh, my truth is this. No. The word should be, it's your opinion, it's your perception. And the work you're doing, refining that data set, is constantly getting closer to a truth, a universal. But you have to be able to let go of those perceptions. The people that don't, that can't, they come up with those reactions. Oh, it doesn't confirm my already privately held belief. Well, your belief is wrong.
Right. Yeah. I'll try to get ChatGPT to write something bad about Joe Biden, and I mean,
It won't do it.
Well, yeah, and what's interesting is confirmation bias. You can actually ask it to say, give me 10 reasons why I should do this. Yeah. And then you can go back and say, give me 10 reasons why I shouldn't do it. And it'll give you 10 reasons both times. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a tool. It's going to do what you ask it to. So ask it the opposite side. Ask it, if you're right, you're left. If you're left, tell it you're right. Give me a different perspective on this. Leverage that as a tool to open your eyes to something, because it really is an unbiased, biased tool. Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Katsimatidis, welcome.
Well, thank you for showing up today. And I'm glad to be here, and you have a very nice group of people. And I'm an immigrant. A lot of you are immigrants. So you say, how do I become successful in America? And America is the land of opportunity. It's very easy to become. I would say it's easier to become successful in America than any other country in the world. That's why everybody's rushing to America. Everybody's rushing to get in through the borders. Everybody's rushing to get in any way they can get in. I don't see anybody rushing to get into Russia. I don't see anybody rushing to get into Venezuela. I don't see anybody rushing to get into, Cuba. But they're rushing to get into America. Why? The land of opportunity. My two grandfathers came here in 2013. 1913, sorry. I lose the centuries. And they left my father behind because he had three sisters and his mother, and somebody had to work hard to feed his three sisters and his mother. And things in Europe in those days were not very good. My father worked at a lighthouse. There's a picture of the lighthouse in the book, by himself on this island for 17 years to earn. He worked. Those islands were owned by the Italian government at that time. And there was no choice. Either He works for the Italian government and earns a few lira to feed his 3 sisters and his mom. Otherwise, there was no life. I mean, it was such dramatic times. After World War II, the Brits that ran everything in Europe, they punished the Italians because they were on the wrong side. They were on Germany's side. They were on Hitler's side. So they took those Greek islands away from Italy, gave them back to Greece. So I was born, it was part of Italy from 1904 to 1947. I tell people I was conceived an Italian, but I was born a Greek. So I'm a member of the Columbus Club because the Italians in the Columbus Club believe in conception. So, and they have great food, so that's important too. So, my father married my mom. I was 6 months old. They brought me to America. We grew up on 135th Street in Spanish Harlem. And my father worked as a busboy, never made more than $100 a week. But we always had food on the table. And, you know, immigration was different in those days. Is when he wanted to come in, his 2 brothers that were here already, they had to sign that if he can't pay the rent, if he can't pay his bills, his 2 brothers had to pay the bills. So my father not only worked 5 days a week as a busboy, he would go to Long Island City or Astoria on Saturdays and Sundays because he spoke fluent Italian, to work in the Italian restaurants as a waiter to make another $100. So he worked 7 days a week so he doesn't have to shame himself. He doesn't have to shame himself and ask for money from his brothers. Those were different days. The days where people had dignity, had, you know, and when I grew up, my parents taught me never do anything to ruin the family name. And that always stuck with me. Then the other thing that was important to my parents, get a good education. So I went to schools. I went to public school originally. Then I went to parochial school for a few years because they thought I needed a little bit of a religion. And I went to Brooklyn Tech High School. And then I had the congressional nomination to go to West Point. But my mother cried. I'm an only child. You're my only child. So what happens? I wanted to stay home. I didn't want to disappoint my parents. So I stayed. I didn't go to West Point. So I stayed and I went to New York University. But land of opportunity. And I started working in my senior year in college. And the book goes into detail. So I really don't know how many questions you want to ask. I'm giving you the introductory.
We just have a few questions.
And then I'll let you give me questions. Yeah? You might be throwing me off the stage. And in my, you know, I lived on 135th Street. I was going to NYU, where all the rich kids were going. The tuition, though, was only $1,200 a semester. I got a scholarship for $600 a semester, and my father put up $600. So we paid the $1,200 to go to NYU. And, you know, then I started working weekends in the grocery store on 137th Street. because I bought a car. You know how'd you buy the car? Well, my father and mother put away money in a baby, when I was a baby, a life insurance policy. And there was $800 in the life insurance policy. So we cashed in that $800. And I bought a Buick Special V6 engine. And my father only made $100 a week, so I went to work on weekends and summers to be able to put gasoline in the car, even though it was only 25 cents a gallon in those days. But I worked, I go from extreme to extreme. I worked 7 days a week. I went to school 5 days a week. And in the book, it gives you detail by detail that in my senior year, the guy I worked for was a guy named Tony. He was like a big brother to me. And I never said no to Tony. He says to me, you have to buy my half of my store that I'm partners with my uncle, because me and my uncle are fighting every day. I said, Tony, but I'm going to school every day. I can't. No, you got to do it. He was like a big brother to me. I had no brothers. I had no sisters. So I said, oh, all right. And I signed a note. $1,000 a month for 10 months. $1,000 a month. I don't even know if I can make $1,000 a month for 10 months. Well, I took that store in my senior year, made it successful. Him and his uncle used to fight every day. That's why he had to sell. If he bought 10 cases of oranges, he says, oh, those are great oranges. That's a good price. Why'd you buy only 10? Next week, you buy 20 cases of oranges. You bought so many, they're going to go rotten. So they would fight every day. Me and his uncle never fought one day. I'm an easy guy to get along with. I work hard. And that's what the book is going to tell you. The art of getting people to work with you. It's, anybody could argue. Anybody could fight. But it takes a special individual to make friends and to be able to work together. Working together, making friends together, that's part of the success in life. And if you don't do that, you're not going to succeed. One of my favorite pages in the book is page 255. It gives you the 20 rules that you should do to become a success. I mean, I remember the first one is, if you're too scared about losing, you can't win. So what happened to me? I worked my tail off. Work. I never became a football fan. You know why? Football was on Sundays. I worked 7 days a week. But that page 255 tells you a lot of angles. So I took that one store for $10,000. Then you ready for this? Within 3-4 years, I made friends with all my vendors. I made friends with all my suppliers, and they all liked me. So in 3-4 years, we built it from one store to 10 stores. And I was making, when I had the 10 stores, I was making $1 million a year. $1 million a year in 1974. It's a hell of a lot of money.
John, this is extremely inspiring. Thank you so much. We have a few questions for you.
I will take all the questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
John, I'm going to start here. In your book, you mentioned your inclination towards investing in businesses, even if you have no prior experience, such as in the airline industry.
That was a lot of fun.
The question is, what drives this bold investment approach, and what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who lack experience into a specific industry but would like to go there?
All businesses are very, very similar. They're different, but they're similar. That means if it's basically, you look at money in versus money out. How much, what do you do? You sit down and you say, what do I have to do to be successful? And if you're working 60 hours a week, maybe you have to work 80. Maybe you have to work 100. But, what was the other expression I had? Is losing is not an option, something like that. Failure is not an option.
Failure is not an option, yep.
So you got to do whatever you have to do to figure out what it takes to win. And I've been into so many businesses. I was CEO of an airline. I was CEO of a corporate jet company, and I used to fly all those jets. The corporate jet company I started ended up being NetJets. When we sold it to Santulli, we had 48 jets that I used to fly. And Santulli then sold it to Warren Buffett, and there were 800 airplanes. And the supermarket business, I grew the supermarket business. I took the supermarket business and I said, my God, if I don't own the real estate, no matter how good the supermarket was doing, guess what you got? You know what you got? Nothing. You're going to lose at the end of the day. If you can make $1 million a year in a store, then the lease is up. And you know what the landlord says to you? That's my million. So I started the supermarkets. I took the supermarkets, bought the real estate. So now, but I kept it separate. Supermarkets is an operation. The real estate is for the real estate company. And in 1977, New York was in such bad shape. It was worse than ever. New York always makes a comeback though. 77, real estate was in the sewer. So I had a lot of cash in the supermarket business. I started buying real estate. I put $5 million from the supermarkets into the real estate business in 1977 when everything was going to, pardon my language, shit. And that $5 million in 4 years was worth $100 million. So that was my first $100 million.
Excellent. Bravo. So how do you evaluate and mitigate risks when investing in an unfamiliar industry? Can you share maybe a specific example?
Well, especially the real estate business. What I would do, I was already in the supermarket business. And if we bought a piece of real estate and the tenant that we had in it went out of business, I said, worst comes to worst, I opened up another supermarket. And that's what I did. So supermarket business would cover the real estate business. So we went on from there.
Great. Guys, do you have questions for John?
I have.
You can start with Pietro.
Hi, John. A lot of people, they work hard many hours, but they don't achieve what you've achieved, right? And it takes a certain type of business smarts and some cleverness and something that takes them to the next level. But that's not my question. My question is, in an excerpt from your book, you mentioned that the businesses that you have, the supermarket business now, today, only counts for 2% of... Maybe
less
of what you make. But
if I didn't have the supermarket business right now, I'd be higher up on the Forbes list.
Wow.
The supermarket business right now in New York, the drugstore business, guess what? Remember the old adage, the shrinkage was 1.5% of sales? Yeah. Now, between extra security guards, closing up the Colgate toothpaste, and and shrinkage, it's up to 6%.
I want to lead to this. So it gives you the most problems, yet it's the smallest percentage. For people, let's say in industry or in their business, in real estate or in any other thing, where they get, they have issues with that business. They're tired of it, yet they want to achieve something different. What advice do you have to them when it's their core business that they started from the beginning and it made them who they are today? What do you do with that business?
You buy the real estate, and then you become a landlord and collect the rent. Let somebody else run the supermarket business. Let somebody else run it. You don't have to know. You don't have to worry. Oh, it's raining. I'm going to do lousy business. Oh, it's snowing. I'm going to do more business.
Very simple.
Very simple. You buy the real estate. Let the next immigrant run it. Let him work 110 hours a week.
I love it.
Let him work 110 hours a week, and you collect the rent.
Thank you, John. Joe, go ahead.
Hey, John. So you mentioned your quote from your book earlier, and that's actually what I wanted to ask you about. So you have, if you're too afraid to lose, you'll never win. There's also the old adage of don't bet the farm on any one thing, right? People have natural tendencies. Some they want to go all in on every deal. Some they're too scared to move or do anything. In your experience, how do you measure risk and make strategic decisions?
You got to measure risk, but I'll tell you one thing that helped me. That when I was in my 20s, I took a lot more risks. Why? I was married, but we had no children. Once you have children, your responsibility then shifts to them. I didn't have my daughter until I was, 38, 37, 38. So already I was a success. If you have children when you're 22, I'm not saying you shouldn't. Children are a wonderful thing. I love my kids. But if you had them when you're 22, and then your responsibility goes towards them, then it's harder to take risks. That answer?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Paul?
John, since you survived the 70s and you look at Manhattan today and the real estate market and our leadership, we shared a meeting in December at a steakhouse with a certain speaker of the House. Can you share with us your perspective on where we're going economically here in the city and leadership in our government?
Where we're going economically now?
Yeah.
Right now, we're in deep shit.
Yeah, that's good. Perfectly stated.
The socialists have taken over the Democratic Party. Yeah. And either somebody's paying them to do this, but they're trying to ruin the United States of America, the greatest country in the world. And if we don't make changes this November, then we're in deeper shit. Okay, this November. I was a Democrat. And when I was 14 years old, I worked for Congressman William Fitzryan. He was a Democrat on the West Side. And he's the one that gave me the congressional nomination for West Point. Then in the 80s or early 90s, I worked hard for my company, but I liked politics, and I started to work for President Bill Clinton. I liked the guy. He was a common sense person. He was one of the smartest guys I've ever met. I ran his campaigns. He used to have at the Jefferson Hotel in Washington, 20 people, $25,000 apiece. That's when $25,000 was a lot of money. And we put them in one room, and they all get to ask questions. We must have had 50 of those dinners. In those 50 dinners, I only remember once that he wasn't able to answer a question, but he wrote it down and said to the person, I'm going to get back to you on that. But let me tell you about Bill Clinton. In that room, I had Democrats and I had the Republicans. And everybody that was in that room walked out. Everybody was satisfied. Everybody admired him. I still admire him. I still talk to him a few times a week. And you need common sense in government. And right now, America is under attack. Our borders are under attack. I believe in immigration. Bill Fugazi was chairman, Lee Iacocca was there, vice chairman. We ran Ellis Island Foundation. And we believe in immigration. But there's got to be checks and balances. You have to know who's coming and going. You can't just say, hey, everybody come in. That's crazy. And the problem we have, places like Venezuela, what they did is they emptied out their jails. And you know what they did? Send them to us in New York. You know what else they did? They emptied out their mental institutions. Send them to New York. Send them to the United States. You know what else they did? Emptied out their hospitals. And they say, you're sick? Go to New York. They have a cure for you. So who is doing this? Our borders are under attack. Fentanyl. I met with the Chinese government a couple months ago because I'm trying to get pandas for Central Park. And I said to the ambassador, I said, why don't you talk to your bosses? I think he's scared to talk to them. Right? I said, the fentanyl sold by the Chinese gangs to the Mexican gangs, and they're sending them up to the United States. In the last 12 months, killed over 100,000 Americans. You know what that means? That's like a 737 going down every day with 300 people. 300 people, 300 days, that's 1 million people. 100,000, you know. You can't just keep the borders open like that. We got to control our borders. We got to control our the fentanyl, the drugs coming in. We don't want to turn, you don't want to turn our kids into a bunch of dope addicts. And look, I've had them on my radio show. We work very hard on the radio show. The neurologist will tell you that kids between the age of 12 and 24, if they smoke marijuana, it's going to reduce their intelligence quotient by 15%. Okay? The other item that I'm chairman of the Police Athletic League that helps the inner city kids. If they go boxing and you're 13 to 24 again, and you get hit in the head like this, boom, 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 you're going to lose 15% of your intelligence again. So if you smoke marijuana and go boxing, forget about it. But I care about the kids of the inner city. I ran for mayor in 2013. I went to the 1964 World's Fair in New York. It was beautiful. One of my things I wanted to do when I ran for mayor in 2013 is I wanted to build the 2014 or 2015 another World's Fair in New York. And now more than ever, they need a World's Fair to bring back all the tourists.
All right, Karina, do you have any questions for John?
Yeah, sure. John, what are the key indicators to assess the market, to find the right property to buy and when to buy it, timing?
Are you talking about real estate?
Yes.
The most important thing I learned in real estate is location, location, location. And the second most important thing is access to transportation. If you open up a store or you have a building that's right next to the subway station, guess what? You're going to do more business. And those are two key factors. And once or twice when I broke that rule, I suffered. The other lesson I learned, going back, because I would buy anything. Going back, 30 years. There was in West Hampton Beach, when I first went to West Hampton Beach, that supermarket that's at the end. I bought the supermarket and I bought the real estate. The only thing I didn't know, because I didn't know, you're always a lion, you're always a tiger in your own den. When you go someplace you don't know, you can learn the hard way. What did I learn in West Hampton Beach? It was a great deal. I bought the building for less than $1 million. In the summertime, we were doing a lot of business, $200,000 a week, $300,000 a week. Then came the winter. In West Hampton Beach, we were doing $200,000 a week in the summer. We were doing $5,000 a week in the winter. You couldn't even turn on the lights to pay the electric bill. So at those, now the Hamptons are more year-round, more. But 30 years ago, in the winter, nobody was there. So you learn lessons. I learned a lesson.
Yeah, Stan, go ahead.
Given a lot of businesses, radio, oil and gas.
I enjoy the radio the most.
I know, I listen to it.
Thank
My
you.
question for you is, how do you use large language models and AI in your business, and how will that increase the value of the business?
Which portion?
Large language models and
Large.
GPT, large language model. How do you use artificial intelligence
Artificial intelligence.
in your business?
Well, I'm a little bit different. 1969, 1970, when I had my first 2-3 sports stores, I learned programming. I programmed the computers. Artificial intelligence, it's not what the words are. There is no such thing as intelligence. Because the artificial intelligence is only as good as the computer programmer that programs it. The computer cannot think for itself. We are not that good. If you want information, the computer can go out and search the New York Times, search the Washington Post, search the Moscow News, search everything and try to put it together for you. But there is no intelligence behind it. It's just Google on hyper Google. Is that the best way to say it? In other words, it gets all the information and repositions it for you.
Google on steroids.
On steroids. It's only as good, artificial intelligence is only as good as the programmer that programmed it. So I don't know where it's going. I don't know what's going to happen to it, but there's no such thing as the computer thinking for itself. The computer is created with artificial intelligence, but only as good as the programmer that programmed it.
Thank you. Yes, Tim.
Yeah, As you progressed through the various levels of wealth, who were your primary mentors? Did you change mentors?
I had about 12 mentors. I started with the mentors, like I said to you, and I tell that to all the young people. Find the guys with a little bit of gray hair and learn from them. And I found those people with gray hair and I learned from them. My first attorney was Sam Stein. He owned a wholesale grocery company called Filigree Foods in New Jersey, Total One, New Jersey. And he took care of our legal things. But his brother, and I didn't know that at the time, Lou Stein, was CEO and chairman of Food Fair. So he owned a wholesale grocery company, Filigree Foods. He got to like me. So every time I was going to open up a new store, he called his controller, Frank Soretta. I think he's still alive in New Jersey. Frank, give John more credit. He wants to open up another store. He liked me. He knew I was honest. And he did that for me. That's why I opened up 10 stores in like 4 years. I had no experience dealing with banks. I dealt with my vendors. Sam Stein, CEO of Filigree Foods, was my main grocery member. Lou Israelo, I don't forget their names. Lou Israelo, chairman of Royal Foods in New Jersey, was my dairy supplier. And these people did what they had to do, and by helping me, they did more business. So you convince them, you do more business, I do more business, and that's how I got up to 10 stores, making $1 million a year.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. But they have to trust you. You can't be walking to their office and being like a conniving guy. Yeah. Nobody wants that. You think you're winning? Guess what? You're losing. No?
Thank you, John. One more question from the audience. Then we're going to start the book signing with John until...
Are you kidding? I was here to be here for 4 hours.
9 p.m. I wish, John. I wish. Go ahead, sir.
Gary, go ahead.
Gary.
So, John, you've been
incredibly
successful in your life, right?
Yeah.
Chain grocery stores, an airline.
I love the airline business. I used to fly those airplanes. I used to fly those jets at 300 feet over the beach at 300 miles an hour.
So we have the grocery store, we have the airlines, we have the oil company, an energy company. You build giant, huge real estate projects in Florida and New York, okay? And you have the most successful radio station, not only
WABC became, Nielsen has said it's the #1 AM station in the country. When I bought it 3 years ago, it was number 28 in New York City.
So, John, there's only one thing I can see that you failed at, and that was when you
I lost for mayor.
You ran for mayor.
I lost.
You tonight, if Margot says yes, would you run again?
That's the toughest question, John.
I made my son
That's the toughest question.
president of the company. He's president and COO. If I thought I could win, and my son could take care of the company, I might do it.
We need you.
I know, but it's a very tough city right now. But I was invited down by the Phil Banks. He's a deputy mayor in charge of the fire department, the police department, and a few other departments. And he wanted to get my idea of what they're doing wrong, how to fix it. This was only 2 weeks ago. So I took down my chief of staff. My chief of staff, you know him, George Venizelos. He was worked for the FBI for 25 years. was in charge of the New York area for 4 years. I took down my general counsel in charge of lobbying and politics, Judge Richard Weinberg. He worked for Peter Vallone, who was the Speaker of the City of New York. So between Peter Vallone and Judge Weinberg and George Venizelos and myself, we met with the deputy mayor in charge of the police department and other departments and 40 of his staff. We gave him some real good advice. If I was mayor, we'd fix the problems in 3 days. Thank you. Thank you.